Philip Kennedy Johnson and Mike Perkins send Warworld on its way as Superman bids farewell to the freed warriors while an old villain of his plots his escape from prison. Philip Kennedy Johnson begins tying up some of the plot ends from Warworld Saga with more fantastic Superman moments and intriguing villain arcs, specifically Metallo and his prison escape. I like with Metallo's storyline, there is a very small possibility that he could go to Superman for help, being that Lex is holding his sister hostage and making him return to his evil ways, something John wants no part of but is being forced into. So I could see this kind of cool team up happening where Superman gains the knowledge of Tracy's kidnapping and decides to help out. It would be very in line with what Johnson has been building with the hero, trying to use words more than fighting to get what he needs done, and it really reflects in his story with Osel and Osel getting the power of the fire of Olgren and how Superman uses his words to help calm him and control the fire. And then again with an amazing speech in the final moments of the issue to the Warzoons and leaving them with his family crest as a reminder of how they are all now part of his family and a family he values the most. So it's going to be really interesting to see where they pop up next, and maybe since Johnson is writing the upcoming Green Lantern book with John Stewart, maybe they might appear in that book, which will be really quite cool. It was all a perfect cap-off to the Warworld saga and further showcases Superman's natural leadership skills. Mike Perkins lends his detailed and distinct pen to the issue with some fantastic action set pieces and a fantastic and terrifying take on Metallo, painting the villain as a monstrous shadow with green eyes. It's a great look considering he's mostly been portrayed as, the silver cyborg a la Terminator, so to have this kind of switch where he's this sort of gross, almost Lovecraftian monster who hides in the shadows is quite cool, and I'm intrigued to see what Johnson and Mike have in store for him in the coming issues. Action Comics issue 1049 wrapped up the Warworld saga plotlines with a thrilling action sequence and captivating character moments, all building towards what comes next for the Man of Steel and his family. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Action Comics issue 1049 heads to Stryker's Island, where the holographic Lex Luthor asks Metallo if he really thought that he was asking the cyborg to join him when he rescued him from his puppet body and gave him a better one. Lex joyfully explains how Tracy Corbin was in a tragic accident the night before thanks to a drug dispute between her fiancé and his friend, making Metallo fly into a rage and punch the hologram, shattering his hand on the wall behind the holographic Lex, who thinks that he should have heard the news from a friend, but Metallo doesn't think him a friend. Lex knows they are friends, since Tracy didn't die, she's being held in a LexCorp funded prison, and he will make sure she gets a sympathetic judge as long as John does what he is told. He tells John to be happy since this is the last night in his cell and his next body will be one he never needs to leave, since he'll finally be on a level playing field with Superman. Superman at that time is busy battling Orion and Calabac, who tells the Man of Steel that he doesn't see a hero, instead he sees a weak old man unfit for war with Apocalypse, made weak by the Red Sun. Clark knows his information is out of date, grabbing the villain's weapon and explaining that the new White Sun he made for Warworld made him stronger than ever, and he even learned a few new tricks there. He crushes the villain's weapons before blasting him back. Orion notes how the hero does seem stronger, and Clark finds he's different as well, thanks to now running Apocalypse, and he seems to have come there for an easy fight. Superman swiftly dodges Orion's energy beams, knowing that he'll not get an easy win. Lois meanwhile tells Perry to pull the news choppers back thanks to the fight as Bibbo helps a woman up, who says that her husband is still inside the zoo. Bibbo calls for the kids to help him, assuring that helping the civilians is helping Superman. The kids and Bibbo get into the destroyed building, finding the man is hurt inside. Suddenly the roof begins to cave in as Osel jumps in front of it, grabbing hold of it and holding it up as Dessard blows his way in, calling the boy the heir of Olgren. He traps Bibbo and the others as he tells the boy the fire only belongs to gods, not housed in mortal shells like Osel. Osel refuses to give it up, unleashing the fire which proclaims that everything is mortal but itself. Superman races to help the boy, telling him that the fire is what saved him on Warworld. Osel doesn't think he's himself anymore because of it, asking what he is becoming, but Clark asks if he remembers when the boy and his sister went into Superman's tent when he wasn't there. Osel remembers finding the puzzle boxes and they were the only anyone's there with Superman. Superman tells the boy that if he remembers that, then he is still himself, and great power doesn't have to change a person. He promises to help the boy learn that for himself, as Orion asks the hero if he needs more proof, since the boy cannot hope to control the fire that is inside of him alone. Superman knows he won't do it alone. He has him, his sister, and others, and he has much greater faith in his own family over how Orion handles things. He also reminds the new god that the kids are with him on their own free choice, and they just learned that they couldn't take them from him even if he tried. Orion, Metron, and Desaad get ready to leave, but Orion warns Superman that the sin of binding the boy with the fire is on him alone, and if they can't have him, they will find a way to take the fire from him, whether the boy survives or not. 2 days later, Superman returns to Warworld to the cheers of the liberated Warzoons. He tells his allies that the United Planets have found them a course to safety, so it's time for them to part ways for now. He remembers how he came to Warworld and didn't know what he would find, and never expected to find the steel they had in them or how much he would rely on them. He finds it an honor to have fought with them, and in the days to come, the voices in their minds will think that they have been abandoned by him. His family and him will never abandon them, and the House of El and the free people of Warworld will share a bond few share. He knows if Mongol loyalists come back to fight them, they will have to deal with Warzoons whose arms are now unbound. He points to his family crest on a rock, telling them that they chose to wear it even though it meant death, and they have a greater right to it than anyone else. Superman burns the symbol into the Warzoons' armor and shields, promising that they will see each other again and they will never forget what they accomplished, since no chain in the universe can hold them now. As the Warzoons shout chants for Superman, the Unblooded One, Orphan activates the box and Warworld teleports away from Earth's orbit. On Stryker's Island, the power goes out, so the guard Tony calls it in as Metallo appears, telling Tony that he has too many shifts and he wishes he had taken the night off. Tony wants to know how John got out of his cell, making the villain appreciate how he always used to call him his name, unlike the other guards. John knows that he's got no choice since they have his sister, killing Tony as Lex tells him that he's impressed with the breakout so far. He tells Metallo to follow his GPS trail to the roof where his ride is waiting for him as he gets back to his meeting with Manchester Black, who knows that he kept tabs on Superman for Lex while on Warworld, and out of the deal, Lex got an unmade and an orphan box, so they don't really have much more to talk about. Lex is surprised that Superman managed to turn the great Manchester Black into a true believer, wanting one more favor of the man. Black isn't interested, making Lex laugh since he doesn't have a choice. He activates a button which electrocutes Manchester, knocking him out cold as Lex knows that he only needs the man alive for a little while longer.